Hey, what up YouTube? Just give me a quick tutorial run through on changing the engine mounts on a GL450. Working on a 2015 model year with 4MATIC. This is the Mercedes V6 twin turbo with the air to water, water to air intercooler sitting up front ahead of the belt drive system. So basically the engine mounts are hydraulic filled engine mounts. They are prone, as with all Mercedes for the last 20 years, cracking, draining hydraulic fluid, separating, get the engine lift on acceleration. This vehicle only has 64,000 miles, I believe. So obviously fairly young in the vehicle's life, but fairly typical on a Mercedes to have the engine mounts fail. You'll always have the driver's side engine mount fail typically first, and that's the one you'll notice the most because the engine will lift up and down. Passenger side on acceleration is actually compressed. It will actually compress the engine mount. Typically it'll drop down a ½ inch or so, but obviously you won't get the lift unless you're in reverse. But anyway, easiest method on getting the access to the engine mounts is not removing the exhaust on this particular model. The exhaust downpipes are held on with a V-band clamp onto the turbine housing back here. All covered in heat shields. You have the wastegate actuator and the wastegate actuator rod, all kind of in the way of accessing those V-bands. Plus you have oxygen sensors that are tied on to it. Found easiest way to access the engine mounts to R&R is pulling the AC compressor off for access on the driver's side and alternator off for access on the passenger side. First things first, you're going to want to remove your negative battery cable. That is over on this particular chassis underneath the passenger seat. So simply remove plastic cover, passenger seat all the way forward, all the way up, and you got your negative battery terminal right there. Once you have that, it is now safe to work on the vehicle because especially on the passenger side, where you'll be removing the alternator and the positive battery cable from the alternator. You don't want any Mr. Sparky to come into town. So essentially on this side, you're going to want to grab a 17 millimeter deep well socket, compress your belt tensioner, relieve the belt, evacuate your AC. If you have one of these wonderful evacuation machines from the air conditioning, and evacuate your AC however method you have available and deem fit. And then you will basically remove your drive belt. On this side here, you'll have two hoses, manifold AC compressor hoses that are kind of difficult to access. We want to first take this charge pipe out of the way that comes off the driver's side turbo. That's held in place with one, it's an E10 bolt right there, and that's going to simply hold one of these little brackets on that hold the charge pipe to the turbocharger compressor housing. Then on the bottom of the air to water, water to air intercooler, you're going to have 7 millimeter band clamp, rather just worm clamp. On the side of that, same on this side here. Remove the charge pipe. Don't be surprised to find some oil. That's the lowest point of the intake in the system. You will normally get engine oil in the charge air tract on the turbocharged engine. Remove that out of your way, and then once you have that, you can remove your manifold hoses off your AC compressor. Traditional Denso made AC compressor, 3-bolt pattern. Take your AC compressor, move it up out of the way. Just set it up in the front here on the front frame rail on the subframe. And then at that point, you're going to want to grab an E10 external Torx, which is your socket here, E10, and remove a heat shield that is protecting the engine mounts from the turbocharger turbine housing heat. You're going to have 3 bolts on the heat shield. The heat shield is the exact same the other side, just flipped around and rotated, I guess, for the passenger and driver side. Once you have that off, then you have full access to your engine mount. It's a 16 millimeter on the top, and on the bottom, you're going to have 2 E12 bolts going up from the bottom of the subframe to the top. Simply put like a 12-inch extension right here. with an E12 socket. Remove your 2 bolts on the bottom of your engine mount. And then this engine still thankfully has a metal steel oil pan, no plastic composite crap like BMW's doing. So you can simply support the engine by using a 2x4 wood jack and manipulate the vehicle up and down with your lift. Or if you're obviously, not everybody has a lift, you can put the vehicle on jack stands in the front and use your traditional hydraulic jack with a wood block to lift the engine carefully on the engine oil pan, just enough to get it up, to get access to slide the old mount out, slide the new mount in, and then carefully lower the engine down. The engine mount has one engine mount for the left, one engine mount for the right. They are side specific. Some of the earlier Mercedes are one mount fits both. This particular model uses a left-hand mount and a right-hand mount, so make sure you're getting a left-hand and right-hand. Limforder is the OEM manufacturer, so if you're able to get those, typically you can get a little savings on your engine mounts from buying Limforder mounts. Limforder is the supplier to Mercedes rather than just walking into the Mercedes parts counter. Save you a couple bucks there, get you the same mount in a different box. So basically put all of that side back together. It's just the reverse of assembly. This side here, you're basically going to want to do leave the drive belt off from doing that side. On the passenger side, you have your drive belt removed. You have another charge pipe that's going from the passenger side turbocharger to the intercooler. Simply take the nut off of that side, stick it over on the other, and you're able to go through and slide that off. And then you're going to remove a 13mm nut that holds the positive battery cable onto the alternator right there. And once you get that removed, you have a traditional Denso alternator, 4 bolts, E12s. You're going to take those 4 out. Drop the alternator down. I just set it down there on the power steering pump subframe assembly. Just set it down there. No reason to remove it all the way out. Then at that point, you'll get access to your heat shield on this side. Again, you'll have your 3 10mm or E10 Torx bolts. And then you'll finally gain access to the 16mm on the top and the E12s on the bottom. Again, I did not find it to be time effective to go through and try to remove the exhaust downpipes on this particular engine. Just seemed to be quicker to go in from the front. If you have any questions, please comment on the video. If you want more of these videos on the perhaps Mercedes that don't exist on the YouTube, the Jens Tube, for DIY repairs and whatnot, post up and let me know. Hope you have a nice afternoon. Take care.